right, and with that recap being over, we're now going to switch over to Notre Dame football, and we're going to recap their season, talk about that. I personally am a Notre Dame football fan. Nisley is a, what would you say you are?
I'm a
Casual
enjoy.
supporter
I enjoy watching Notre Dame football.
and enjoyer.
I-
Yeah,
I'm, I'm a casual supporter. Yeah.
just having a good old time. No, it doesn't really make sense being a Penn State fan and a Notre Dame football fan, but my uncle was a Notre Dame football fan before he moved to Central Pennsylvania. And then after his sudden passing, I decided to like Notre Dame for him. He would tell me like his grandfather played Notre Dame football, or at least was like friends with one of the Four Horsemen. So I thought that was really cool. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Nisley, I'm going to turn back the clock real quick. I'm
Okay.
going to turn it back to September 10th of 2022, okay?
Okay. Okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
Notre Dame is hosting the Marshall Thundering Herd. And it's probably close to 6 o'clock in the evening. And Marshall has just thrashed Notre Dame at home. Now the final score was 26-21. The score of that was closer than the game actually was, all right? Marshall was the
Okay.
more physical team. They were the faster team. They were the more energetic team. Uh, both quarterbacks for Notre Dame had thrown a pick. I believe Tyler Buckner threw a pick six in that game, and I pushed the self destruct button right away. I think later
Yeah.
that day I told you I was like, dude, I don't know if they're gonna win a game this season. I was like, they might win one, maybe two. Um, Watching that game, like wide receivers, there was a pass. Tyler Buckner threw a pass. The two wide receivers were standing right next to each other. They ran the exact same route and stood next to each other. They almost dropped the ball because neither one of them could decide who was supposed to catch it. Like, they had no run game. Everyone's doing the same thing, like just running the same routes. I was scared. This
I know you were.
this was a historic game also for Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, because Marcus Freeman became the first ever Notre Dame coach to start 0-3 at Notre Dame. He had coached in the bowl game at the end of the previous season when they lost, when they blew a big lead to Oklahoma State. So I was like, man, like, just got thrashed by Marshall at home. Like, now the schedule that was kind of tough is now, really tough. Like, guys are going to decommit. Like, we could go into, like, not that Notre Dame has been this insane program for the past however many years, but, like, this could be really rough. Now, week one, they go on the road to Ohio State. They lose by 11 in a game where they were projected to lose by 17, and they had the lead going into halftime. They ended up losing it in a bit of a slugfest near the end. And I was frustrated, but I was like, okay, like 11 points to Ohio State, first year head coach. What else could you ask for, right? Like, some positives. I didn't get to watch the Cal game, but Notre Dame ended up squeaking out a win. With that, Tyler Buckner was injured in that Marshall game for the rest of the season. He hasn't played since then, so they had the backup. Drew Pine was in, and I think he's made improvements over the course of the season. But dude, he was not a good quarterback. I still don't think he's that great of a quarterback. Like, he's had to get better because, like, the pressure was on. But, like, stood completely still in the pocket, just waited for Michael Mayer, star tight end, to be open. Couldn't run with the ball. Couldn't, they wouldn't even do like screen passes with him. Like, very one-dimensional offense. So I was just like, and there were a few players that did decommit. Now in hindsight, maybe those are just like, that happens to every program. But I was like, not much is going to happen. But then there was a little bit of hope, right? They beat Cal. They win on the road at UNC, which I still think is a good win against UNC. They're going to the ACC championship. They beat BYU. Now they're 3-2. I'm feeling better. I was looking at the Notre Dame message boards and listened to Notre Dame podcasts, and people are like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! This is great! Like, we're gonna keep on trucking." And they're playing Stanford. Now Stanford, when they played Notre Dame, had one win, and that was against Colgate. And I was still kind of worried, but I was like, "Hey, like right now they just need to win." and they came out flat against Stanford. They lose at home. Was it 16-14 on the very first offensive play for Notre Dame? There was a false start. So now they're 3-3, and again, I'm right back to square one. Like, dude, like, what are we gonna do? Like, I'm scared. Like, their next games after that, UNLV, Syracuse, Clemson. So you get a little bit of an easy one against UNLV. That was one of the ones that I was like, oh, they could probably beat them. They beat them. They go on the road and they smash Syracuse, which I was kind of surprised by and happy about. And then the absolute just beat down, the ass whooping, as Dabo Sweeney said, of Clemson. I was watching that Clemson game just like, wow, they didn't blow it in the second half. Guys were playing good defense. Like, none of these like mistakes. In that Stanford game, again, the same thing happened where two tight ends ran the exact same route, and the one guy didn't know he was lined up as a lineman, so there was an illegal man downfield that took away a touchdown. If they got that touchdown, they'd win the game. So I was really worried, but they ended up getting a good 8-4 season here, much better than things looked after the 0-2 start. I think Marcus Freeman, I think he's got, with me personally, he's won his way to next season, but I think he's still on the hot seat though. I don't think it's quite cleared yet, but to me, I think he's still on the hot seat, and still next year he's still got to figure things out. They lose on the road to SC, which is a really good SC game or SC team, and Notre Dame, they didn't look too bad. They just had mistakes in the beginning that kind of hurt them the rest of the way, that they weren't ever going to be able to dig out of. But right now, like, Freeman, like, seems like a good guy, passionate guy, good recruiter. They have a lot of guys flipping from other schools and committing to Notre Dame right now, so that's all good. But I think it only gets harder from here, and we're gonna have to see what happens next season.
Mark, what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10? What is your confidence level in Marcus Freeman?
My confidence level right now, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give it like a 7 out of 10.
You want to know what my confidence level is?
Naze, what is your confidence level in Marcus Freeman?
It's a 10 out of 10.
Whoa!
I think Marcus Freeman I think he's the guy for Notre Dame. Yeah, they're 8-4. Yeah, they lost to Stanford. That loss sucks. Because Stanford sucked, and they still suck.
They still suck. Yeah, they only have like 3 wins. One of those is Notre Dame.
But Notre Dame's got the number 3 recruiting class coming in next year, only behind Alabama and I want to say Georgia. I forget who the other team is. Maybe it was Clemson. I forget exactly who it was. Of course, tough loss to Marshall, tough loss to Stanford. They played super competitive games against Ohio State, and I thought even though the game against USC didn't necessarily go well, they lost by 11. I still thought that they did extremely well, considering USC is the number 4 team in the country. I think Notre Dame, they had some good wins, like you said. They beat North Carolina. They beat Clemson. They absolutely dominated Clemson. That was a really good game. But I think they're easily their best game of the year for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They took down Syracuse. I mean, they essentially play like a half ACC schedule for Notre Dame. But they have a very good defense, and they establish the run better than almost anybody in the country. They are excellent at just controlling the pace of the game. And I do think, this is Marcus Freeman's first year as a head coach for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And there's almost always going to be a few speed bumps along the way. There are a few outliers, like you'll see, with Lincoln Riley, who's 11-1 in his first season at USC. But even a guy like Ryan Day at Ohio State, you could say there's been a couple speed bumps. He's lost to Michigan 2 years in a row, and not that that's a crazy speed bump. They're still really good, but
yeah,
it's very, very common to have a first-year guy not just come out of the gates and win in every game that they play. It's almost expected a lot of times to have some setbacks early on. Get Brian Kelly, former Notre Dame head coach,
yeah.
Brian Kelly at LSU. they lost 3 games this year, and they lost uh, to Florida State really early on. Who I still, even though Florida State ended like 9-3, still don't think Florida State's very good, because I said that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Um, and they of course lost to Texas A&M recently as well. And Texas A&M has been awful all year, and they just got manhandled. Uh, LSU got manhandled by Texas A&M.
Yeah.
This is a common thing for this to happen to first year head coaches. Sometimes it just does not go your way. Like whenever you lose to a 3-win, at the time a 1-win Stanford team. And I think Notre Dame has a really, really bright future with Marcus Freeman. And I think they're going to play a competitive schedule year in and year out. They're going to continue playing Clemson. They're going to continue playing, USC. They're going to continue to play. Uh, I don't believe, or they do play Ohio State next year.
They do. They host Ohio State.
Yes, that's correct. Um, I think the future is so bright, and honestly, they might have, in my opinion, maybe outside of like USC, maybe the brightest future of any college football team right now
Wow.
with Marcus Freeman at the helm.
Wow. That I can see what you're saying. The part of me that's just worried is like I have their schedule right here in front of me. They they have 5 straight road games in the second half of their season. Now, Notre Dame has I can't remember an 18, maybe more plus game winning streak against the ACC in the regular season. They haven't lost to an ACC team in the regular season in a while. But I don't care. And people will probably say that the ACC is football wise is collectively one of the lower conferences of football. But I don't care. I don't care what division it is. If you tell me you have to go 5 straight road games near the end of your season, like that's tough. So I think that'll really be a tough test. Next year Notre Dame they go to Dublin, Ireland to play Navy. Like that should be a fun game. Then you get you get your average preseason games, might as well be called. They got Tennessee State, then they got Central Michigan, and then it kind of gets going. You host Ohio State, you host SC, and then you host Wake Forest, and then it's at Clemson, at Stanford, at Duke, at Louisville, at NC State, and then Pitt at home in Notre Dame to finish the season. Pretty good season this year, but that's a tough one coming up next. 5 straight road games. I'm just worried that Duke is like a decent program. Duke football actually beat Notre Dame and beat Brian Kelly in Notre Dame in I think it was 2018 maybe it might have been before that, but so just a tough schedule coming up, and you said a competitive schedule. Yeah, it's only going to get more difficult as it goes on, but this year I'm just thankful that they'll get to play in a bowl game. I don't care which one it is, as long as they got to play, and they're ranked at the end of the season.
Number 21.
I think they were number 6 at the start of the season, and then they lost to Ohio State, and then they were okay, they were number 8, and then when they lost to Marshall, they were taken off the board completely. They didn't get ranked again until they beat Clemson. So a fun year, but also a frustrating year. But
certainly stressful on your end.
Good that they can keep that going. Hopefully.
At least you had mentioned Notre Dame's schedule, and like I said, it's since they are independent, they're like a half ACC team, half we're gonna play everybody else. They're gonna have a tough schedule, but you know what? Ohio State maybe on the ropes a little bit, maybe not the Ohio State of old. That even though they have that long road trip, those are all very, very winnable games.
They're winnable, yeah.
And listen, this could be a way too early prediction here. Be a way, way too early prediction, but
don't say it.
Notre Dame, 11-1 next year, 12-0.
College football playoffs.
College football playoffs. Listen, I know it sounds crazy. They're 8-4. Quarterbacks are a big question mark.
Yeah.
Listen, Michigan last year made the college football playoff with Cade McNamara. Not a very good quarterback.
He's in the transfer portal now.
He's in the transfer portal. Maybe he'll come to Notre Dame. You never
I
know.
thought about that.
um, they have a great defense. They run the ball. They control time of possession. They're a really good team. Even though they're 8-4, there's no doubt in my mind they have a legit shot at actually going to the playoff next year. Now, do they win it? That might be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, probably not.
That we're probably still maybe a few years down the road from that. But they have a favorable schedule, or somewhat favorable. I mean, 5 road games in a row is tough, no matter who you're playing.
Yeah, yeah,
That's still certainly very difficult. But uh, I really like this team, and Marcus Freeman's going to continue. To bring in a new coach and immediately bring in the number 3 recruiting class is extremely difficult. It's almost unheard of if you're not already a Nick Saban, or
yeah.
you're not, if you're not in the SEC. Like that's incredibly difficult, and he's doing it as an independent coach. So I'm really excited about what Notre Dame can do next year. I'm excited to see who they do play this year in their bowl game. But listen, if I'm a team, I don't really want to play Notre Dame right now or next year.
Yeah, I guess you do make a good point. Like you beat Ohio State, you beat SC, and you win at Clemson. Like people are kind of down on Clemson now. I don't think it's fully deserved, but those are 3 really good wins. And even if you drop one of those, like play really close with whoever, that is a good resume to make it in. I definitely
Absolutely.
think uh, they would benefit greatly from having a championship game to play in. Notre Dame, that is. I feel like 3 to 4 years as a depending on how the games go, like 3 to 4 years is a decent time to judge. Like, hey, are we actually making progress? Is the program headed in the right direction? We just talked a bunch about James Franklin. In his 3rd year at Penn State, they won the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I think it's important to remain patient as a fan, or just as anybody. We take a look at Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. It didn't happen right away. And Jim Harbaugh was a massive hire. I mean, had success in college and in the NFL. Came back to college football to coach Michigan, and it took a little bit of time. It wasn't just a immediate. Michigan wasn't a powerhouse from day one. It took several years for them to reach it. Last year was really the first year of like, hey, we're here. Jim Harbaugh is our coach, and we're getting it done. Even though they got smacked in the college football playoff,
Yeah,
we're likely going to be right back this year. But it's not an overnight thing. It's these things, these systems, and these cultures do take time to develop. And I just think it's important that you know as fans of college football, that we don't just write them off. Say they go 8-4 again next year, 9-3 or something, or 6-6. What if it's a bad year? Yeah, I still don't think it's time to hit the panic button, at least not yet, because
yeah,
these things they take time, and we just have to remain patient and take it one day, 1 week at a time. And I have a lot of faith in Marcus Freeman and what he can do, and I just hope that they allow him the time to do it.
I had said this to you a while ago, but I said like if I was the head of Notre Dame football athletics, like I'm changing almost everything. All right, I'm saying it here. I'm putting names on the jerseys. I'm joining a conference. I'm changing the end zone. Like I like one thing that made me think of this was like I look at the Miami Hurricanes and I'm just like, man, those guys like they're trying so hard to be that team from the 80s. Like they need to find a new identity. And I'm like, oh well, to be fair, that's what Notre Dame's been trying to do. They've been trying to be that team from the 70s and the 80s with Lou Holtz. So I think you have to join a conference. Like I'm a little annoyed with it myself as a fan. Like this year, if the schedule was a little different, they'd probably be playing for an ACC championship, one that they would likely win. And you're telling me you're gonna take a team and go from regular season football right to the playoff? Like, what team is mentally ready for that? Like, get them in a couple championship games, get them ready for those big moments because I just don't think that regular season moment is the same as playing for a national championship.
Yeah, if Notre Dame was in the ACC right now, I mean, they would literally be best team in the ACC. I mean, they already beat Clemson this year. They beat North Carolina, both teams who are in the ACC championship.
Yeah.
Uh, it's almost they'd probably be going to the college football playoff if they were in the ACC right now. Now, let me ask. Of course, Notre Dame is almost like an honorary ACC team currently. They're just, if they were to join a conference, that is probably the front runner of what conference they would join. At least, maybe a couple years ago. But now with the USC and UCLA coming to the Big Ten, with Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, do you know, or as a preference, do you have a preference as to what conference Notre Dame would join? Because they are kind of in Big Ten country as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. I was hoping you'd ask that. So I narrowed it down to 3 choices, and I think that realistically, I mean, I feel like you have to join, not have to, but like join the ACC. Like your basketball team is in the ACC. I believe even like their not badminton. I can't remember there's another sport that's in the ACC. You've had a lot of success in that conference. We said they could be playing for a championship. Like you have a winning streak. Like, and you got Miami. You can be like, oh, we're bringing back Notre Dame versus Miami. We're bringing back Notre Dame versus Florida State. So I think that's an option. I think if they had to pick what would be the second choice and what they would probably pick first, they'd probably join the Big Ten. Like you said, they're right in Big Ten country. I think people love Notre Dame versus Michigan. I think bringing back Notre Dame Penn State would be amazing. Like they need to be playing like every year, and with SC joining the Big Ten, you don't have to worry about losing your rival. I think that's another thing about Notre Dame is they're very stuck in tradition. Well, I mean that's college football. College football's stuck in tradition, so it's like, oh, Notre Dame plays SC. That's the big rivalry. So if you join the Big Ten, you'll play SC. And I think people see like Notre Dame joining the ACC as Notre Dame like lowering themselves, or even people at the university could think, oh, we're lowering ourselves to play in the ACC. But I think the fact of the matter is you need to get some championships. Like it's the whole, national championship or nothing. It's like, well, guess what, buddy? You're getting nothing. You've got nothing forever. So try to get a little bit of something. Help build yourself up. I think you've said to me before that Notre Dame joining the ACC would not only help Notre Dame, but help the ACC be a stronger conference.
Absolutely.
And the third pick, I don't know, just because it's the better of the other picks, I'd say the Big 12.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going SEC. I was like, absolutely not.
No, I would not. If it was up to me, I'd say under no circumstances is Notre Dame going to the SEC. They cannot compete with Alabama. They cannot compete with Georgia. Most likely, they cannot compete with Tennessee. And depending on what team shows up, maybe, call me crazy, maybe they could compete with LSU, depending on the team that shows up. But I see them being a mid-card to lower team in the SEC. I think they'd get their doors blown off if they join that conference. And the Pac-12, it's just too. This has been a really great year for the Pac-12, which is too bad because they're losing 2 of their biggest teams. But I just don't think it makes sense for Notre Dame to keep going to the West Coast and for those teams to be coming into the mid-east part of the country. So I say the Big 12 just because, again, because it's not as bad as those other choices. I think Notre Dame West Virginia would be really fun. That would be a fun couple games to play. And TCU Notre Dame, that would be fun as well. It'd be interesting to see like the Big 12 is a fast. Most of those teams are really fast. Like quick offenses, no huddles and whatnot. Where Notre Dame is like the slower, control the time of possession. So it'd be interesting to see if they could slow those teams down or just get completely run over. But I don't think. Again, they love the rivalries at Notre Dame. You love the rivalries in college football, and so there isn't many rivals left in the Big 12. So, yeah, that would be my biggest pick. I'd say ACC just because you've had so much success there. Get some, compete for some championships, potentially play for some, but they'd probably want to go to the Big 10. And I don't know, they have that deal with NBC. Like, are they worried they won't get exposure? Like, you can call me biased, but there's 15 programs in the country that will be on TV no matter what. Like Notre Dame is one of them. Like people are
No
gonna
matter
watch
what,
it.
no matter
Yeah,
who they're playing, they're going to be on TV.
yeah. So like you have this good deal with NBC. Yeah, that's great. But just like play these other teams. Like join this conference. Get this other stuff going. Like stop. Like it was cool for a little bit that you're independent. Now it's just like to me, it's just kind of random at this point.
I agree. I think of course the obvious choice is like, hey, let's join the ACC because like basketball's there. We play 6 ACC teams a year, anyways. Um, as a fan, I would love them in the Big Ten. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, Big Ten football, Iowa, Notre Dame in November. It's gonna be like 10-3 final score. Can't think of anything more beautiful than that. If I'm being completely
Because it's
honest,
so
bro.
cold. Is that what it is?
It's cold. They both, or at least Iowa has a god awful offense and a very good defense. And Notre Dame has a average offense and a very good defense. And it would just, it's like a battle of like who's gonna break first,
Yeah.
who's gonna have 100 rushing yards and who's not.
Who's
It'd be a beautiful thing. Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame. Oh, Brock, I think that's right up our alley
I
as
think so
Big Ten
too.
football
Yeah.
fans.
I would.
Some of the best, but also some of the worst football you ever watch.
Yeah, I would love it if every other year, like Notre Dame came to Beaver Stadium. Like that'd be fun to watch.
It
Yeah.
would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of just as fans of football.
Yeah. So I think like as far as the most to gain, or like the Big Ten conference is better than the ACC conference, but I think like I think go where there's success, and right now like the ACC looks good, and try to compete for some championships. I think they do decent in the Big Ten, but they wouldn't be a contender right away. They'd have some trouble with with Ohio State, Michigan, the teams we've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ten's tough as hell, but ACC makes the most sense because they would not only help the ACC, but they're just helping themselves. They're gonna play, probably a little bit of an easier schedule, but it's also the more competition in the ACC, the better those other teams are gonna get. Pitt won the ACC championship recently. Um, UNC is a little bit on the rise. Of course, Miami's been down now for a little while, but the more competition they add, that's just gonna, Miami did just hire Mario Cristobal from Oregon. We'll see maybe in the next couple of years if that starts to pan out. There is some upside in the ACC, and I think they could really take advantage of joining them already being a pretty good program and potentially elevating themselves and these other programs that they're going to play year in and year out.
So yeah, ACC most success there, but they'd probably go Big Ten. Most rivals in Big Ten. So
yeah. ACC is what the brain's telling us. Big Ten is what the heart wants.
Yes,
that's
yes,
what
sir.
the heart wants. They're Big Ten country. No, let's ride.
That's right, Big Ten country. That's right.
That's
even with all the frustration, this was a really fun year of Notre Dame football and Penn State football, and we just look forward to what happens next year. I can't wait already. Dang it, man.
Exactly. There's a lot of excitement within change, and you can sense it, you can see it, you can feel it within Notre Dame's program. I mean, even immediately after Brian Kelly leaving and them announcing that Marcus Freeman was going to be the new head coach, just videos that were posted and from current players that were there, and even some former players, you could see the passion and the excitement and the potential future of that Notre Dame program.
Yeah.
Not of course that Brian Kelly was bad by any means. He's a fantastic coach, and he did a very good job with Notre Dame. I mean, he got them very, very close to a national championship. But with that change, it's kind of fun to, you're in the very beginning stages of building something new, and it's really exciting, and it's going to be a lot of fun the next several years for Notre Dame football.
Yeah, definitely. I had something to say. So yeah. Oh, another thing I would change. Speaking of changing stuff, dude, I would put lights in the stadium for the crowd. Like you watch Notre Dame football, and it's the field, and then the crowd is just like shrouded in darkness. Like most of the crowd, like, I mean, they would hate it. I mean, if in a world where the changes couldn't be undone, I think something good would come out of it. What would probably happen is if I made these changes, people would scream about it for 3 years. I'd get fired, and then they would just change it back. But I do think, like, you know, like changing their end zones, putting the names on the jerseys, joining a conference, having something like not you don't have to completely demolish everything and make it unrecognizable. I just think a little bit to kind of put some life back into it, make people look twice and like, oh yeah, this is the new Notre Dame football. Like, I just think that would help a lot going forward.
Yeah, I like how the lights, the crowd looks kind of dark.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a fan of that actually. It's kind of like at Madison Square Garden for the Knicks games. Like the first few rows you can see very easily, but then a lot of the rest of that crowd is just kind of in darkness.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of a fan of it personally.
Sure.
I think it looks kind of cool.
I mean,
it's a little different with college football though.
Yeah, I guess that would be like the last thing I'd change. Like, but it is like, they do the overhead shot of Beaver Stadium, and that looks really cool. And you see other stuff nearby also lit up. The same thing when Tennessee played Alabama. Like Tennessee was all lit up. All of that area looked really cool. And then it's like you go above South Bend, and there's just like this light of the field, and then there's just like nothing else. Yeah. So that's all. That would just be my biggest thing. I think they just need a little bit of something to help put some life back into it. Maybe make it like newer, a little bit more excitement there. But I mean, getting a head coach after losing your coach you thought would be there forever, and it just being a whirlwind of news until now. So maybe now you shouldn't change it. Because
they can't change it now. It's too late.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a fun year, and hopefully this keeps going on. I'm excited to see who they play in their bowl game too. There's someone predicted that it'd be Mississippi State. I was like, that could be a decent game. We'll see. We'll see if my SEC prediction is different. They have, also Brian Kelly did beat LSU in a bowl game twice. He beat Les Miles, and he also beat Ed Orgeron.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, there was this was now this was 1 year before Joe Burrow played, but the last two times that Notre Dame and LSU played, Notre Dame did win in the bowl game, so that's something positive at least.
Listen, next year maybe we'll get a little playoff action, Notre Dame, LSU, Brian Kelly choking away a game to Marcus Freeman. Notre Dame's going to run the ball like madmen.
Oh man.
Aiden McNamara is going to throw a little play action touchdown to their tight end. It's going to be a beautiful thing, Brock.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be a really, really beautiful thing.
Only in my dreams, but hopefully.
Hopefully. I've got faith.
All right. Well, yeah, that's about the most I have about that. Notre Dame football, unless you had anything else you wanted to add.
Hey, Notre Dame football. Let's ride, baby.
Let's ride. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. As always, this was we did a bit of a double episode here. Hopefully I can edit them and get them up in time. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. We appreciate the support we've been getting. If you have anything you want to say about either Notre Dame or Penn State football, please leave it in the comments below. We'd be happy to read those or respond to those. And yeah, this is your host Brock signing off. Everybody, peace.